Yo, people, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another stream. This is the first stream in months. I think this is the first stream I've done since like February. Thanks for hopping on. For those who are actually on the live stream at the moment, I'm even forgotten all my lines. Genuinely, I don't know what to say. You know what? I do know what to say. Smash the like button if you haven't smashed the like button already as well. And just get involved in the discussion, because obviously I'm not just here by myself. I'm joined by Leeds' finest, Kagey. How you doing, bro? You good?
I'm good, man. Listen, this deal today, it's all part of us failing to come up. So it was almost inevitable, but we'll get into it in regards to that. But we had a good sweetener in the return in Joe Rodon. So, and I guess we'll speak about that as well. But yeah, man, I'm good. I'm good. Just rearing up for another slug of a championship football, man. It sucks, but we got to do it again.
You can hold that, man. You can hold that. Yeah, you can hold that, because, bro, we've been speaking on the DMs for a minute, to be honest. And sometimes I feel like our exchanges are quite nasty. Well, not nasty, but it's like I don't really message you when there's anything good. I only message you just to say hold that. I don't think it's fair for you, to be honest. But
listen, I get it. I completely get it. But that's why I'm so quiet, because when you're in the championship, what can I say? You know, what can I actually say to a Premier League team? But of course, when the QPR beat us 4-0, you all came crawling out the woodwork. I had heard from so many people in so long. All of a sudden, everyone remembered my name again. But no, look, this is just it's a blip in the road. Last year, we failed to come up. We've paid the price, which we're doing right now in terms of money. But this year, we're coming, man. The championship's weaker this year, which means that the football's going to be worse. But I think we're going to recruit properly this summer and do the job properly.
Good. To be honest, I actually want you back, because I've never been to Ellen Road. I want to come up to Ellen Road, and I actually would like to meet you in person, to be honest. But there's absolutely no way I'm going to Leeds unsolicited. Like, impossible. There has to be some sort of business reason for me to go
TOBS, come to the Leeds Sheffield United game. They'll welcome you.
What, just to dance on my enemies' graves? Yeah.
Oh my Lord. In fact, you know, the last Leeds game I attended was actually the game where we got relegated versus you lot. You know, yeah. You got, and I was right above your crowd, because obviously I was in the media section, and your crowd was so loud, singing songs all game. It was like a day out for you guys anyway, the way we played football that day. But I forget who even scored a goal, but it was someone that doesn't really score a lot, and it was just
Lucas Moura. Last game.
Yeah, and it was just one of those days where it cemented that we were just so bad that year. Obviously, the teams that went down this season from the Premier League kind of surpassed our poorness. But yeah, that was the last time I actually went Ellen Road. I haven't been back for a championship game, man. Now allow that,
man. So you're basically on a stadium ban until it's the Premier League anthem and not the championship anthem, basically.
Until it's the promotion party. But I look at I can get there. It's not a problem, but I'll just focus on doing championship content online for now. But yeah, I want to go back when we're in the Premier League again, because I like it. I want to enjoy the football when I'm there. And I'm sorry, but championship is just such a poor level. It's hard to watch most of the time anyway. So yeah, forking out money to get up to Ellen Road and all that. Nah, not for me.
How far are you from Ellen Road?
Not far, but it's the principle, man. You know what I mean? I'm going to go to Leeds versus Plymouth. Yeah,
nasty.
It sounds glory. It sounds glory hunting, but I've been during darker periods than this. I was there when we had Warnock as manager, McDermott as manager, and our team was absolutely crap. So I've done all the dark periods. I don't need to do it again. But no, I will go back eventually. You know, we'll see. But yeah, it was just hard last year. It was a little bit of a mourning period for me, being back in the championship.
I hear you. I get why. Because I remember when we made the Conference League, I said, yeah, now that we're in it, yeah, of course I would want Tottenham to win it, but I am not going to a single group stage game unless this team make the knockouts. They're not going to see me. Obviously, it's not going to be the same for Europa, because obviously Europa, you have a better standard of team, better caliber, of higher standard competition as well. But I get you, man. Sometimes it's tiring. It's tiring, man. You support your team through thick and thin, and there's only so much BS you can take, man. So they have to give back before you can start again.
Exactly. And listen, hopefully this is part of it. You know, we're talking about the Archie Gray deal now, Joe Rodon coming back, but hopefully this is part of it. They realize what they need to do for this season and make sure that there are there's no room for error, because we made mistakes last year 100%. So they've got to get it right this summer. And it makes no commercial sense for the 49er Enterprises, big American corporation, to have a championship club. It doesn't make any sense. So they need us to as well.
Agree. And do you know what's crazy as well? Yeah, I was in San Francisco literally like 4 weeks back for work, and I actually copped a 49ers hat, and then I completely forgot until now that you're actually owned by the owner who owns by the owner of the 49ers.
Yeah, the 49er Enterprises. Yeah, they outright own Leeds United. We also just closed the biggest deal in championship history in terms of sponsorship from Red Bull. So so Red Bull they're not even a minority owner. They're nothing like that. They're not on the board. They're just a sponsor, but it was a huge deal. It's worth like 60 million for a championship team. That's sensational. So just shows you the power is there, but we just need to make the right steps to do what we need to do in the Prem, instead of doing what we did last time and trying to do it on the cheap, keep players that shouldn't be there. There's still players from the Premier League area that should not be here. Like Bamford, you know my feelings on Bamford. He should not be here. There's players that need to be moved out quickly and fast. You know what I mean?
I get you. One second. Let me just put my my work teams on mute. 1 second. Teams.
And while Tobes is doing that, people, if you haven't already liked the video.
Yeah, I'm back now. Okay, cool. So let's actually get into it, man. Let's talk about why we decided to, or better yet, why I reached out to you to do this stream. So I'm trying to share my screen so I can talk about this deal. So I think that should give an indication on the topic for today's stream. So we're here to talk about Archie Gray, and I must admit, with Archie Gray, I'll be honest, I've watched exactly 90 minutes of Archie Gray in my entire life. One was the majority of the Chelsea game where you guys played at Stamford Bridge. The other was the playoff game where he scored that deflected goal. I think it was a playoff game. It was either a league game or a playoff game that was on the team. And I only tuned in because everyone's like, oh no, look at Leeds. I think it was in fact, it was the Leicester game. It was a league game against Leicester. I think he won it.
Yeah, he didn't get the goal. It was an own goal in the end, but he was important.
So those are the only two matches where I've actually watched Archie Gray. But before we actually get into specifics about Gray as a player, it's important to lay out the terms of the deal. So for those who live on the rock and haven't seen the news, what I'm flashing up in front of you is an article from David Ornstein, or written by David Ornstein, Nancy Froston, and a few others. But essentially, Tottenham are paying around £40 million for Archie Gray. Archie Gray is an 18-year-old who plays. It's weird. Is he a defender? Is he a CM? I mean, you can speak to that more than I can, but in a nutshell, Archie Gray is joining Tottenham in a deal worth around 35 to 40 million, and Joe Rodon is going the other way for a fee of around 10 million or more. So essentially, Tottenham are paying around 25 to 30 million for Archie Gray, when you factor in the money that we're apparently recouping from Leeds for Joe Rodon. But I think we were discussing this off air, so I want to hear your take on this, Kagey, because obviously, technically, it's more a case of us paying the full whack and giving you Joe Rodon as opposed to you guys giving us money back, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it clears up a lot of things as well, because when this deal was announced, obviously, first of all, it was Brentford that were agreed terms with him, and that deal broke down because Leeds didn't like the structure of what Brentford were trying to pay or how they were trying to make the deal. So that's when you guys came in. What made everything clearer was that Archie Gray actually inserted a new non-promotion release clause in his contract in January. So it went from Leeds fans thinking that the 49ers are trying to push this boy out, to Archie Gray actually doing the sensible thing, what nearly every footballer does now, and look out for themselves. You know, Archie Gray is a Leeds United fan, but he's a professional footballer next. And when he's looking at Kobe Mainu, when he's looking at his mate Adam Wharton at Palace, he's probably thinking, you know what, I can do that at this level too. So he was always going to have that fail safe if we didn't go up, to say, if a club comes in for me, let me go. And that's been the case with this. What's made it sweeter on our side, obviously, is that Joe Rodon, who had Premier League interest, has made the decision to come back, which is amazing. I didn't see it coming. There was Southampton in for him. I know Ipswich had a bid rejected. Leicester had interest, and a couple of others as well. But he had such a good season for us last year, got regular football, was a bedrock at the back. He obviously enjoyed it that much that he sees a path of where we come up, and he gets to play in the Prem with Leeds. So it works out great for him. In Archie Gray, if there's no release clause, maybe it's a little bit more, possibly. Maybe the 49ers could have done that. But with there being a release clause in there, it kind of set the tone of what we could do. And with them accepting a fee from Tottenham and Joe Rodon, it makes a lot of sense for me anyway. It makes perfect sense. And obviously Archie Gray gets his Premier League move. And he deserves it, man. He's nowhere near his full potential. Just want to make that very clear. He's not even scratched the surface of where he's going to go. And there's more to come. And with you having Ange as your manager, I've said it to you before, Toes, but he is Bielsa, man. It's attack first, defend if you like, but we're going to play on the front foot. He's already worked in that system before, and I think it's going to suit him down to the ground.
I'm glad to hear it, man. And to be honest, your words are echoed by practically every single person I've spoken to who has actually watched a sizable amount of Archie Gray matches. Because, like we said off air, and even I said at the start, I've barely watched this guy, so I'm not going to come in here and speak with like the expertise that I normally would do on other players, because I simply don't know enough. So I'm having to be guided by what you tell me versus what I can search up on the internet, and I've searched up a decent amount. So I'm interested to see how he performs. I'm interested to actually see where he fits into our team. I think the most important thing, and we'll get into it in a bit more detail later on, is the fact that this guy actually looks like he can play football. Yeah, and I think that is so key for me now in this phase that Tottenham are in. I don't know whether you want to call it a phase or process or project, whatever you want to call it. It is absolutely critical that we sign players who, at the heart of it, are good footballers. And I'm not talking about, oh, you do 50,000 bleep tests, or you've got amazing mentality. No, lead with the technical base first, and then try and see if the other tangible qualities or intangible qualities can either come with the base technical quality or can be added with the base technical quality. It should never be the other way around, which is what we were doing with the likes of Conor Gallagher. And
I knew you were talking about Conor Gallagher. I knew you were talking about
because and I know me and you are from the same school of thought there, because it's like you. In some ways, we've spoken about Spursy, Leedsy. Like in some ways, when you look at the way in which our team's been built over the last couple of years, you can see that there are areas where there's a clear dearth in quality. Where you're saying, if a player who could actually play football at X level was brought in, you'll see an incremental increase on how this team's actually going to perform. Yet our teams, for whatever reason, either pivot around it or bring in a player who can give you 20%, 30%, 40%. No. Give us 100%. And irrespective of what I know on Archie Gray, from what I can see from the compilations, from what I can read from the analysis on his play style, at the heart of it, this is a player who actually knows what he wants to do with a football and can do it quick.
Yeah, and that's his style of play. I mean, you see more of his attacking play for the England under-21s. In fact, he's only recently been promoted there. He was with the under-18s before. He's moved up to under-21s. He's still scoring goals there. The reason why he hasn't had goals and assists for us is because he's been primarily deployed as a right back. Now, the only thing I'd say is at the right back, and obviously the competition is way less in the Championship, but the times that he did struggle, and there's only a couple, was against Jack Clark. I'm sure a few of you remember him. Oh, that was another one from Leeds. How could we forget? Jack Clark.
He was faithful. that we overpaid for. You were saying,
You
"Oh,
did
you've
overpay. Now that was
overpaid for all our
I
players."
told you. I think I told you at the time, didn't I? I don't know if
You
he was
did.
talking then actually, but I said at the time that was an overpay by Spurs because he had 2 good televised games, and as you know, when you do well at Leeds United, everyone's watching, and you guys paid for that. But he's a good player now. But what I'm saying is the 2 players that he had trouble with was Liam Miller and Jack Clark, who were very tricky wingers. So I wouldn't really think that Angie's going to deploy him against, say, like an Anthony Gordon or someone like that. I think it will be tricky because he's not a defender first, but he did learn a lot of the defensive discipline last season. He picked it up so easily. But his primary attributes are as an 8, like a 6-8 hybrid 8-10. And he will get forward. He does love to get a shot off. He got a good passing range that he's only going to get better, by the way. And I think in your kind of system, he's going to flourish. I do. I don't know what his goal return is going to be, nothing like that. But in the system that Tottenham deploy, which is very attack heavy, I can see him doing well for you, man. I do.
100%, and I can see him being the type of player that Ange Postecoglou will want to get his arms around and use a multitude of ways, because you saw it last season. There were several players in our team that were deployed in different positions. You saw Bentancur play in the 6 and the 8. You saw Kulusevski play left wing, right 8, left 8. You saw the likes of Sarr in some games. He played right 8, left 8, so on and so forth. Even Emerson Royale, someone has an unwantable like Emerson Royale. He played right back, left back, and centre back. Obviously, not all because the manager wanted to put him there. Some were his hands were forced because of injuries. But what I'm saying is, we have a manager who's not afraid to put players, use the same player in multiple positions if he feels that's the best way to set up his team. And I think with Archie Gray, I feel like because this is a guy who's been used in multiple positions already at Leeds, it at least gives Ange Postecoglou some options as to how best you want to fit him into this team. But I guess my question to you, right? My question to you is this: what is the best position that, in fact, scratch that. What is the position that you feel he will give us the most relief, the most amount of quality based on our issues? And our issues are as follows. We need a proper number 6 who can be a bit more reliable than Basuma, because Basuma's not a natural number 6, who has a good passing range from deep. We need good, not even just backup. We need actual competition for our fullbacks. So Porro and Destiny, we need guys who realistically can put these guys on the bench. Okay, even if it's not going to be for the whole season, they can put these guys on the bench for a couple of games when they're off it. So with that in mind, and I'm only focusing on the defense and the 6, the positions that he plays in, where do you see him fitting best for Tottenham?
Yeah, it's going to be in that central midfield role, possibly just a bit advanced of the 6, because he's got too much in his game just to be he's not a real destroyer of any kind like that, but he can play deep. But the best way to deploy him is like an 8, basically. So maybe it gives you now scope to get rid of people like Højbjerg and all these guys that have been there just a little bit too long, and you've got now a player that is only at the very start of his journey. And that's the only disappointing thing for me as a Leeds fan, is that we're once again not going to see the fruits of his growth in the game. But you guys can get that, and if you deploy him properly where he should be, which is in the central midfield, I feel like you'll get some relief there. I think that it will allow Basuma to be a bit more natural, because Basuma, for me, is a brilliant footballer, but I feel like he lost his way toward the season. And maybe it is all that moving around the positions when you need to. I think Sarr did well for you, but I think Gray gives you an extra dimension, especially going forward. It's going to help you in the attack more probably than defense.
Interesting. And obviously he ticks of course for us, he ticks a lot of the boxes that we look for in players nowadays. He's young, he's English, which means he helps us with the homegrown quota, and he's versatile, right? And he's got potential upside. But my next point is on his readiness for Premier League football. So for me, outside looking in, right, 40 million, 35 million, that's a heck of a lot of money for an 18-year-old. Don't care
Yes.
how good you are, right?
Yes.
That is hefty money for an 18-year-old who's been playing, no disrespect, but who's been playing championship football. And I'm not saying this to put him down. I'm literally just spelling
For
out
one season.
Yeah, for one season, exactly, for one season. So he's literally been playing men's second tier football for one season, had a couple of appearances, well, one appearance in particular against a Premier League side, and he's going for 35 million quid. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money for the club to commit, but I have to believe, and I do believe, that the club clearly see that this is a player with big potential, which is why they've gone out of their way to pay the amount for Archie Gray. So my question to you is, with the amount that we've paid, do you believe that we'll be able to see an immediate return on investment next season or this season coming up?
Yeah, I'll put it out on the line. I do think you're going to see it. And kudos to Tottenham for getting involved, because usually, you know, you big six clubs usually wait for these players to go like to a Brentford or somewhere to excel and then pay 70 million for them. So you've got ahead of that, and you've done your job early. Because, you know, I'm sure Tottenham as well will be looking at the correlation with Adam Wharton, who went from Blackburn to Palace, and thinking, you know what, Gray has got as big a ceiling as Adam Wharton. Can we get that from him too, and possibly more? Because Adam Wharton is more of he's a nice ball player, but he's more of a defensive midfield slash, you know, central midfielder. They're probably looking at it in that way too. And I do think Archie Gray is going to come in for you. I mean, we had fans thinking that Archie Gray was going to get loaned back. If you spent 35 million on a player,
Bro,
you're not loaning him back.
Facts. This is what I didn't get. This is what, and I think I did see some people tweeting this. They're like, "Oh, we're paying 35 million for a guy who's barely going to play." I said, "Huh?
No.
Not on my watch. There's absolutely no way I'm seeing the club spend the best part of 40 million quid, and you're telling me that we can't see anything from the player the following season. Not on my watch."
Yeah.
So
just before I forget, I don't know if Lo Celso is going to be there for you next year, but you think of all the positions Lo Celso usually takes up and then just does nothing. I think you're going to get more out of Archie Gray in those kind of areas. So you've already made an improvement there. You know me, we've talked about Lo Celso before. I've never rated that guy. You know what I mean? I think if his name was Phil Smith, no one would care about him. But, you know, Lo Celso sounds sexy, doesn't it? So you give him opportunities. He's just, you know, put him in that Almiron class for me. But no, I think Archie Gray is going to give you a good base. And going forward, I think it's going to be a sound investment for you. I don't think there's going to be any regrets. I can see him getting into the England squad. You know, I don't know when Gareth Southgate's gone, maybe he's going to get in there. But I do liken him to Mainu and Wharton, making that kind of impact at Premier League level.
Lovely. If he's given us what them men are giving their clubs, I'll happily take that, and I'll run with it, because them man, that's what you call like pure technical quality, like guys who are brave. They have the quality to play, and they have the mentality to play brave, right? No matter who they're playing. So if you're telling me Archie Gray is going to give us that, bring him in. I guess. And I know I'm asking you quite a lot of questions, but this is why we did the stream. So because I want to get as much as possible. So with the way we play, again, I know you said that midfield suits him best as opposed to being a fullback, but we set up in a 4-3-3 / 4-2-3-1 hybrid. So I want to talk more about our midfield options, because I'm not sure how much you know about some of the plans that we've made or are in the process of making. So you mentioned two of our midfielders that are 90% likely to be sold this summer. One of which is Højbjerg. I think he's attracting interest from Atletico Madrid, Napoli, a few other clubs. Like I think he'll probably end up at a Europa League or a Champions League club. And I know what you just mentioned about Lo Celso. I don't really rate Lo Celso highly, but what I can say is Lo Celso actually has, believe it or not, some form of resume in the Liga, right? And I think there will be teams that are looking at Lo Celso. So Lo Celso and Højbjerg, I expect they'll move to new clubs this summer, considering they've not really got many years left in their deal. I think they both got a year left on their deal. So they're gone. But then if you look at the players coming in, and when I say coming in, I mean this not just in terms of the players that we've bought, but in terms of the players that we have in our academy as well. So we have we bought last season. We bought, in fact, January, we bought Lucas Bergvall. I'm not sure if you heard of him.
Yeah.
Swedish talent.
Yeah.
18 years old again, similar 1 year, I think, 1 year older than Archie Gray, who looks like he's an 8. Looks like he, for all intents and purposes, he's an 8. He wants to play forward, carry the ball forward, dribble, etc., etc. Now, he looks like a proper player. He looks like a prospect as well. So we've got him in the 8. You already mentioned Sarr, who's an 8. It doesn't look like the club are going to sell Bentancur. So I think they're going to give him another season to try and see if he's fully capable of getting back to his best. But he's another one who's at a crossroads with the club, because he's got 2 years left in his deal. So it's either he gets kept this season, he has a good season next year, and we renew his contract, or he gets kept this season, he doesn't have a great season, we sell him next summer, or we try and potentially sell him this summer to try and maximize as much value for the asset as possible, or as much value for him as much as possible. So there's still a couple of moving pieces, but at the heart of it, that's 3 options I've just named that play right 8 for Spurs. On the left 8, you have Maddison there, you have Kulusevski, who's been trialed there, and obviously the club are looking at Eberechi Eze. I think he might, if he was to be signed for the club, he might be deployed as like a wide playmaker on the left. But I would also imagine that in some games, Andrew will use him centrally, because that's where he regularly plays for Palace. So I say this to say that there's a lot of moving pieces in our midfield, and I'm looking at our team now. With the inclusion of Archie Gray, the midfield seems like the position that's stacked the most.
Yeah.
Do you believe that he will be able to get? Let me rephrase. What formation works to get the best out of him, acknowledging the players that he's also going to be competing with?
Well, you mentioned the 4-2-3-1. That's what Barker played. And at the start of the season at the championship level, he was played there with Ethan Ampadu behind him. So it was Ampadu and Archie Gray in midfield to begin with. And then we had injuries. The whole Jed Spence things didn't work out. But I wish that one did, by the way. I love Jed Spence. But he's deployed there. So you mentioned the 4-3-3 as well. He's worked in that kind of system as well when Farke has had to adjust during the game. So he's flexible in that way. And that's the beautiful thing about Archie Gray in terms of that. And I think he even plays a different system when he actually gets goals for England under 21s. Don't quote me on that, but I think he plays in a different formation there too. So he is adaptable in that way. And if whatever Ange is going to need from him, he will be able to deliver. There's no question marks for me about this one in terms of this, because if we had gone up this season, for me, Archie Gray is starting for Leeds United. Now I know it's a different level in terms of where you are in Europa League and us being a newly promoted. But what I'm saying is, I'd be more than comfortable if he was our starting midfielder along with other people, of course. So the competition for places is going to be something that drives him as well. He's not going to go there thinking that he's just going to start every week. He knows he's going to have to work for it, but he's never been scared of that. From when he was on the bench for us, when he was 15 years old, Bielsa didn't use him, but he was ready. He said at the time, "I'm ready to play whenever you need me." So this kid is being ready for the longest time. And I think that's a big reason why he put in that non-promotion release clause in there, because he sees himself as a Premier League player, and I don't blame him. He's got his attributes are way above the Championship. When we're talking technical players, there's a big difference. Like when Somerville gets the ball in the Championship, it's night and day compared to who he's running up against. It's like it's not fair. It's like people in the park playing against a professional football team. You know what I mean? There's big differences between a few of our players in comparison into the league that they're playing. So it's going to be a step up. I'm sure there's going to be teething problems. I'm not going to say he's going to be consistent week in, week out. But if he's given the opportunities and the way that Ange plays football, and that's the most important thing for me, the way he deploys his people to play football, which is very forward thinking, I think you're going to get a lot out of him. I really do. And Bentancur, I don't know how he's been for you. I haven't really been paying attention, but all I remember is we were beating you at your place. And then Jesse Marsh decides to take off our midfielder, bring on Luke Ayling, and Bentancur just had the run of him. And he got 2 goals in that game, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, Bentancur is a good player. Bentancur is a good player. I think maybe crossroads is the wrong word, because I don't see the club selling him this summer, to be honest. I think he's a good player, and we're going to give him every opportunity to get back to his best level. The player I probably omitted by mistake was Oliver Skip, to be honest, because I'm like, exactly out with the old in with the. I'm looking at the midfield composition. Basuma is obviously, he's not a natural six, but I think he's gonna maintain his status as a regular option for us in the six. But conscious that we play Europa League next season as well, there's gonna need to be heavy amounts of rotation, which is why I'm looking at this deal and I'm like, this kid has to play. So there's no if buts or maybes for me. He physically has to play because we're going to have way too many fixtures to be so reliant on the same group of players Monday, Sunday, Wednesday, Sunday, Thursday, Saturday, Wednesday, Thursday, whichever schedule it is. So he's going to play. I'm just thinking where he's going to play. And I think if there were players as well that were shedding, one of them for me has to be Oliver Skip. And I know it's difficult for us because it's, and I'll let you come in on this, but I think for us, we're managing that homegrown quota thing very delicately. And it's like, if you get rid of Oliver Skip, even though you have brought in Archie Gray, you're still at a deficit because you probably still need to make up that quota with player A, player B, player C. So I think it really depends on what remaining business we do this summer in the attacking positions. But I would hope that if Archie Gray is coming in and he's going to be deployed in the midfield, to your point, that means in addition to Højbjerg and Lo Celso, we can get Skip out of there.
Yeah, the Skip. I'm sick of seeing Skip's name this summer because a lot of our fans, I don't know where it started.
Yeah, he's linked to you. He's linked to you.
When it starts with, I think it's the same with every fan base. Once you get linked to a player, everyone just gets this idea that we've got to have him. But for me, like Oliver Skip is as
I love stuff like this. Spurs come to Tottenham. We're building a nice core of good young
nursery.
Yeah, no. We're building. There's another one I forgot. Mikey Moore. You heard of Mikey Moore?
Yeah. But in terms of that, Oliver Skip, there was people that would have been willing to accept Rodon and Skip plus 20 for Archie Gray, and that just blows my mind because they're not even the same player. And Oliver Skip as well, maybe he needs a fresh start. I'll give him this. Maybe he needs a fresh start and a manager that trusts him. But he is as basic footballer as I've ever seen. Side to side, he'll get rough in the tackle sometimes, but he gets a nosebleed anytime he gets to the final third. And our problem this season is that we've had no goals or assists from midfield. So bringing in Oliver Skip makes zero sense to me. Even though a couple of our defensive midfielders being linked with moves away, that's the only time it would make sense for me. But I would not want Skip in any way, shape, way, or form on a permanent deal. Absolutely not. He's just a basic baller. For me, he's part of the problem of football today. That he's a system-based player that, unless he's it just horrible to watch, man, for me. And I'm glad that he was nowhere near this deal. I'll be real with you. So. Yeah, but if you're talking about that though, if you're thinking, I didn't know you was linked with Eze, but that would be a good one for you because then if he does play off the left, and then you can move some permanently up front. Because I don't know, are you guys getting back Werner?
Bro, he's been re-signed on loan for another season. He's been re-signed on loan for another season, and I had to bat so many. Why are you mad? This is a decent move. It allows us to go and spend money on real players that can improve the team. I'm like, come on, man. You've been a Spurs fan for how long? You've been a Spurs fan for 30 years, 40 years. You know how this shit works.
The thing is, you know what the thing is with Werner? It was the same thing every time. He did well at Leipzig, but this is a different league. And not only was that, he gets in some of the best positions you'll ever see. But then that ball is going into the crowd every single time, without fail. Or the cross that's coming in is hitting the corner flag. It's like 9 out of 10 times he gets the final third action wrong, and I can't believe you brought him back. I mean, obviously Andrew must love him, but fair dues, man.
Bro, we're singing from the same hymn sheet because I for the life of me can't understand what is there to like about this deal. Even if you paid me genuinely, if I was Tottenham Hotspur and I ran the club and I was Daniel Levy, you couldn't even pay me 5 million to take Timo Werner. Forget about taking him on loan. You couldn't even pay me to take him because I know, does he address a need for this team? No. Is he at the technical level that this team needs? No. Is he going to take up space that could be better served for a younger, talented academy prospect like a Mikey Moore? Yes. So you've got him obstructing the space. You've got him not good enough. You've got him not going to contribute enough goals and assists. So what is the real benefit of having him here? Oh, he's played at the club before and he's versatile and he's plug and play. Oh, he gets the club. He's a nice guy. Oh, he won't complain about sitting on the bench. That's the problem.
That's a problem.
You're thinking about players to come in just to sit on the bench. No, you should. The best way to build a team, right, is always you look at bringing in players that can push the guys that are starting onto the bench.
Yeah. Brother, competition for places, and that's the other one, isn't it? It's a loan or whatever it is. So what's the harm? The harm is he's a bad loan, and if you got a better loan, if you got a better recruit in there, they'd be doing more for you. So all those chances that you saw you guys miss with Werner at the end of them, if there's someone else there that's a little bit more competent, a little bit more composed, I think that's the main thing with him. His composure is it's non-existent, isn't it? If you've got someone there doing that, you probably finish off with a few more points, and that's the difference with certain players.
100%, and we'll get back on the Gray talk, but I think people focusing on the points that Werner did contribute to you, but then you look to your point. Look at the points that we didn't pick up, where Werner was one of the guilty culprits. I'm not saying it's all him; it wasn't all him. Right? There were some of the results we got pants. It wasn't just Werner, but I'm looking at man's individual action. And you're telling me that this guy's going to botch moves 7, 8 out of 10 times, but the 3 times he actually does something well, I should be like, yeah, that 3 out of 10 is enough for me to take him on loan. Allow it, man. Allow it. But back on Archie Gray and Skip, I'm going to keep an eye on that one. I think you made a good point on Oliver Skip. I feel like, in fairness to Skip, he's a player who I think needs like a run of games. He's not one of these. Because he's not that good technically, he's not one of these players where and I know that's the understatement of the year. It's understatement of the year. Because he's not good technically, he's not one of those players who you can just bring in from the cold and they have that discernible quality that you can see when they touch the ball. He's one of those players that needs to be playing in the team week in, week out to do his hustle and bustle with the occasional forward pass. And he needs to build up a rhythm. And unfortunately for him, he's not played enough games to be able to build up a rhythm for Tottenham. And I think, to your point, he definitely needs to be at a team that can give him consistent game time, or in fact, fairly consistent game time. I'm saying maybe more than 6 starts a season. I'm talking maybe 15 starts a season plus X amount of subs. That's the type of minutes that he needs. And he's not going to get that at Tottenham, especially with Archie Gray coming in now. So I think the writing is on the wall for him. So I'm just hoping that the club can play that one smart and bring in, if the aim is to sell him and bring in a homegrown talent, that's actually good. Please. Just bring him one.
The only thing I'll say about Skip is there was a literal 1 minute video going around Twitter of him with his highlights. And he looked like a bumbling fool, man. There's just no tech there. He looks awkward when he runs. It looks like it's just horrible to watch for me. So yeah, good luck to him, but I hope it's not at Leeds United. And I'm actually not mentioning his name on my streams no more until we are, when the deal's close. If Ornstein drops a bomb or something and he says skip to Leeds, I'll speak about it then. Until then, no, I'm not putting in the atmosphere no more.
Yeah, man. Fair enough. Don't speak it into existence, because that's what I was doing with Werner. I was saying, no, I don't want him. And then all of a sudden I see, bang, the club announced that they've signed Timo Werner on a season-long loan deal. Yay. Great signing.
and just quickly for the Spurs fans, obviously it's a Spurs channel, but Joe Rodon, in terms of him coming to Leeds, is good for you to get him off your books, I guess.
Move on to that.
And yeah, it just works out great for us. And I don't know how much opportunity he got. I think it was Jose that signed him, wasn't it? Because he was linked to going back to Fenerbahce with Jose at some point as well.
Really? I didn't realize.
Yeah. Jose wanted him.
Jose signed him.
Yeah.
So he got signed under the Jose regime, but he didn't play much games. I think he played. So I think his debut, he got thrown into the deep end. against Chelsea away. He did relatively well. He made like 1 or 2 mistakes, but he did relatively well. He looked competent.
Yeah.
But then there were a couple games where he looked he didn't look as competent. He didn't look as competent. And I think we very quickly established that Joe Rodon he's not a needle mover. And even for this, for all intents and purposes, he wasn't even a steady Eddie for us. He just wasn't at the level. And I think that's okay. But I think what was probably a bit more annoying is that the club knew that this guy wasn't at the level. It was clear, and they went out and signed him anyway, even though we needed a high caliber player. But that's in the past. I think in the present, obviously he's acquitted himself well at Leeds. And I think these are the type of deals that we probably need to be doing more of. Like take advantage of the loan system. So because I think there was talk on Joe Rodon for months now, because my friends were telling me, oh yeah, like apparently like he's getting rave reviews from Leeds fans. I remember Joe Wayman was messaging me a couple of months back saying, oh, Joe Rodon, we need to keep him, please sell him to us. And I said, rah, this chat for Joe Rodon, please, you can have him. You my friend, will sell him 10, 15 million, please.
You my friend, I give you good price. Yeah.
So
but no,
so I'm happy.
It's like one of those things, and I don't liken it to Skip, because Rodon is much better on the ball than Oliver Skip will be, but he's just got his confidence back. And plus, we're talking a few years ago when Mourinho was there, so he's obviously grown up a bit. He's 26 years old now. Obviously, he wasn't going to get the opportunities at Spurs, but I think it speaks volumes. If anyone thinks he's being, there's a lack of ambition in coming back to the Championship rather than signing for Ipswich or Leicester, I would say that it's more of a project that he knows that Leeds are doing everything to get back up. And once we get back up under this ownership, it's going to look a lot healthier than, say, maybe Ipswich will look, next season or whenever it may be. Because, Leeds is obviously still a big draw. The Premier League is always going to be bigger. But the fact he got so comfortable here, had a great run of games, even in the games where he was slightly inconsistent, it wasn't the end of the world. It wasn't like he was making glaring errors or anything like that. So he's probably just seeing this now, coming back to play another 46 games, come back up with Leeds United and see how he gets on in the Prem in his second stint. Because, I mean, the whole Jed Spence loan, I mean, guys, we've done a lot of business together, I must say. Spurs and Leeds, I mean, that Spurs and Leedsy thing is a real thing, but we're just linked. But the whole Jed Spence thing was, it was flawed because Farke didn't play him in his proper position. And if you're Jed Spence coming from the Premier League, you expect to be playing right back. He didn't get to play right back. He played him at left back, which obviously didn't sit well with Jed. And the loan, which we paid $1 million for, by the way, got terminated. Farke needs to be better. I mean, that goes without saying, but he's got a love for Joe Rodon. He absolutely loves him.
Good. I'm glad, and I'm glad we were able to actually leverage one of our wantaways in a deal to actually benefit us. I mean, we pay less, because that's something we don't do well at. I think the last time we actually used a deal that worked that well for us in our favor was Kyle Walker-Peters to Southampton, where we wanted Højbjerg, and we said, all right, fine, you take this player, bang. And we only ended up paying like 3 million net for Højbjerg. So anyway, I think that's pretty much it for me and you, to be fair. We've spoken on Archie Gray. I think the deal announcement is imminent from Spurs. I look forward to seeing how he progresses at Spurs, because, as I said, I must admit, the noise around his name, not just from Leeds fans, but just general fans, rival fans, Spurs fans, like normally I'm quite cynical. You know me, I'm quite cynical. I like to, sometimes I even have my agendas, right? But generally speaking, I like to be a bit cynical with some of these players that a lot of Twitter folks hype up, because you never know, like until you actually watch the play yourself. I don't really want to take the word of someone who is known to sensationalize a lot of things, but the way in which literally the entire football community in the UK are speaking about this kid, and speaking about this kid with conviction, tells me that we could potentially be onto a winner. And I liken it to, obviously they're different players, but I remember I wasn't even on Twitter when we signed Dele, but I remember that being a huge deal for us. We signed him in January, and I remember we signed him for like 5 million, and they were like, 5 mil. And I remember at the time, Liverpool were interested in him, Man United were looking at him, and so on and so forth. And I remember that being made out to be like a crazy, crazy big deal. So I'm hoping that he can give us the same level of impact that Dele gave us. So let's see.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't doing football content then, but obviously I was. When you're in the Championship, you're looking at League One players and you're thinking, who can make the step up? And Dele Alli, he was levels above. It was a joke him being in that league, at the time. And you talk of him being 18, he was running League One like it was a joke. It was almost like a cheat code in that league. And I was interested to see how he would step up. Said the same thing as well about Ivan Toney when Peterborough had him. I was like, why is no one in the Premier League taking Ivan Toney? All they want is 8 to 10 million. Get the deal done. But as usual, people dilly-dally. He then ends up going Brentford in the Championship, and now look how much he's worth now. Sometimes it's not every player that does well in those lower leagues can make the step up, but there's certain players where you just know they're going to be great. And just on as we round up, you guys with your midfield options, let's say Basuma has a renaissance season, that's good. Maddison in there. If Ange trusts him again, I don't know what all was going on with Maddison and Ange, in the second half of last season. Maybe more there, but you've got some real good midfield options for where you're trying to get to, which I'm assuming is Champions League again. And you're not done, as you said. So you've got a nice base to start off with here.
Yeah, my big thing was still signing a better destroyer, and I don't know if that's going to be Archie Gray. It doesn't sound like it is from your analysis. So I still feel like Spurs need someone who can just lock down an entire midfield and has the technical quality to boot. But I just need to see how that progresses over this summer. But anyway, man, thank you.
And by the way, just let me say, just before we end, you need Kulusevski to come back again, because the thing is, we know he was never quick. His intelligence would give him a couple moves ahead of the defenders. But last year, he looked slow. I mean, because he wasn't going well for him, was it? And that's when the slowness makes a player look washed. But obviously, he's not washed, man. The guy's still young. Hopefully, you're getting a rebound season from him too.
I need that badly. I need that, because I've not given up on his talent, but I've definitely given up on him as an out-and-out starting option for Spurs on the wing. I don't think that suits him anymore. I think we need to repurpose Kulusevski somewhere in the midfield, but I don't know how that's going to work with the numbers that we've just went through in terms of the options we have. But we need to do it somewhere, and he needs to give us the best version of himself, because I'm tired of watching these stinky ass performances. Rate the guy, but I don't rate what he's delivered in 2024. I think it's been nothing short of a disgrace, and he needs to get back to levels, man. So anyway, thanks for hopping on, man. I'm going to let you go and watch the Euros. It's been great chatting to you. It's been a long time since we've done this, and I hope that we can do more of these conversations, not even just on Leeds, but just generally talking football next season. And then hopefully, or this season coming up, and then hopefully this time next year, me and you can start lining up some of the Premier League streams, because hopefully Leeds will be back in the Prem. Yeah,
hope so, man. That's the hope, man. That's the dream of not only just as a fan, but as a content creator, man, because doing match previews for Leeds versus Rotherham ain't fun. So yeah, we need that. We need that. Yeah.
Big up, man. Thank you for the super chat. 25 Eagles. He said, Benter aside, big up to us. Good bloke with decent footy knowledge. Thank you, man. I would say the same for Kagey as well, to be fair. I think he's one that definitely applies to as well. Just don't go to his channel if you want to hear good Premier League chat, because it's only the Championship team being spoken about. So
wow.
So anyway, I've got to get my digs in whilst you're still there, man.
That's okay, man. That's okay.
Anyway, thanks for bringing some Leeds fans into the chat. For those who've been watching throughout, thanks for tuning in. Make sure you smash the like button if you haven't smashed it already. And yeah, just look out for some more streams or just some short form content coming your way over the next couple of weeks. And again, please accept my apologies. It's been a very, very tough couple of months for me in terms of fitting some content in, some personal content in anyway. So yeah, let's see what I can do over the next couple of weeks. Bear with me, and I'll see you soon. Peace. All right.